You can go and switch to your personal. I'm streaming right now.
Yeah. Thanks. I see the live streaming has been enabled by you, so it's totally fine. I will switch to my personal account. Thanks, Toddy.
Hi, Shiwei. Hi, Sajay. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, maybe we can get started. Let me share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, let me check whether they will join. Okay, let's get started. I think today's agenda is very straightforward. And currently, the most important thing is that we understand the current notation V1 status and understand when we can start to vote for the official release. Another item is an update from Josh. I think Josh will join late. Yeah, I did an offline chat with Josh that previously he during I think it's the last meeting we are discussing about the all-in-one kind of GitHub action, but after some investigation, it seems too complex. So Josh will share some update, and I think we can continue the vote issue to create a repo for the setup notation GitHub action first. Okay, I think Josh may join a bit late. So let's start the first topic. Let me open the planning board. Okay, can you guys see it? Currently, I'm on the page of the 1.0.0.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of PRs to be reviewed or re-reviewed. Some are smaller one. For example, the first two. So we will skip this first two discussion today. Let's check for the others PRs, anything blocking or anything we need to take action, additional action on it. So how about we walk through every item? Is that okay? So notation naming. We have 3 PRs for updating the naming, notation naming in Notary project repository. And let's open the one that Toddy created. Let me switch to the one, because that one, previously we have some overview under this repository, and Samuel also created an issue that we needed to revise this README document. And since it is related to the overall the Notary project, so it will be put under this GitHub repo here, and all the other repos will reference the Notary project overview. So let's open this PR. We also received some feedback from Emily from the TOC. I think maybe one comment we needed to take care. So I'm not sure you have reviewed these comments from Emily. How should we proceed? Let's check the comments one by one, or just focus on the most important one?
So I am addressing all the comments in this PR. So I'll submit the next commit by end of this meeting. I don't think we need to go comment by comment. If there are any kind of specific comments about Amy's actually suggestions, I'll be happy to hear those. But let's not just go comment by comment. Let's concentrate on the important ones, which is what Amy commented.
Okay, Toddy, do you see any comment you want to discuss in this meeting? Because I see one comment, maybe not in this PR, is about the notary signature. Let me find it. Maybe we have the signature specification, and we update the naming. I saw one comment from Emily about the suggestion, the notary signature specification, notary project signature specification. Toddy, do you have any comments or other folks on this comment?
So the previous notary does not specify the signature. So notary, I think notary signature specification is acceptable as a comment, and I did not see, I used notary signature specification in the README that I submitted, and I did not see any comments from Emily on that. So for now, I would like to keep it as notary signature, because this is the only specification that specify how notary will sign. And in this case, like, the project is kind of set of repositories that we have. I'm not sure whether we need to every time say the notary project, because it becomes too long. But I don't know, Samir, do you have any, or Pritesh, any comments on that?
Well, yeah, I'll go first. I think I read a comment from Emily or somebody else as that it is getting confusing that the notary project is the org name and the repo name is also the notary project. Will it help if we rename our repo name from notary project to something like notary notation specification? So our specification repo becomes notary notation specification.
Have you looked at the PR that I submitted? I think that clarifies most of the things, and Amy already went through that. I guess you are looking at the PR that the E has, and yes, that certainly does not add clarity around the difference between what is notation, what is notary project. But please take a look at my PR. The one that Yi is sharing right now, and all the explanations there. So Yi, you can scroll down to the comment from Emily.
Which one?
Well, where I was going with the story, like, yeah, okay, I'll let you first get to the right comment. Let's do that first.
Can you go up a little bit more? So she commented on the few areas that she sees more clarity. Specifically, secure software supply chains is a very broad statement. That's the one that actually she wants us to fix, and I agree with that. Else, she mentions below that actually we have a clear statement that differentiates what notary is and what is the difference between notary and the rest of the repositories in the in the organization, as well as what is the goals of the organization. So I think if we go and fix the comments that she has here, we can leverage that information, and we need to update the other repositories just to refer to the overview here and just describe what each repository is intended to solve.
Charlie, I hear you, but I think I also saw some comments saying there's still confusion for somebody who's reading the Notary project and the word notary, because they may not pick up on as easily the difference between the Notary project and notary. And the word Notary project comes twice, right? It is overloaded term for the overall project org, as well as the repo name where the notation specific, not notation specific, but the new specifications are. So will it not be easy if we just rename that specific repo, and will it not clear everything if we rename that repo?
We can do that. But once again, would you mind reading my PR before we do that? Because I think it clarifies some of those things.
Yeah, I think Todd's PR, yeah, give very good clarification. Just the thing I just brought up is about the signature. And as Toddy mentioned, that there's no signature for the previous version of Notary. So this term Notary signature specification is also good.
Yeah, just to address Samir's comment, right? So Samir, I hear what you're saying. So we have the Notary project organization and the Notary project repository, right? What was not clear is what is the difference between the Notary project organization, the Notary project repository, and the Notary repository. And I think that is clarified in the new PR.
Yes, I will read your PR fully. And assuming it is clarified there, this specific thing that you brought up about signature, it reintroduces that a little bit, saying, when you say notary signature, you actually mean the notary project signature, because the old notary didn't have a signature. So for that specific thing, would it not be better to call it notary project signature?
I don't mind either way. It's, for me, notary project signature has a little bit different meaning, but if we all agree that we want to call it that way, I don't mind. So
Okay, so let's take an action item. I will read your PR once fully to see if those things are clear. I think we all agree that we want to give clarity to people who are not very familiar with the specification and the history of the old note of the notary and the notary project. So let's just connect over Slack on that one. I have not read all your changes in one go.
okay, let's do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to
sorry about that. We still need to actually update the readmes for each one of the repositories. So this is still work that we need to do. That my PR does not invalidate that comment, because if somebody lands on the readme of the repository itself, it is still confusing. So we need to address each individual readme in the repositories.
Yeah, I think that is another action that once Toddy's PR on the GitHub repo was merged, we also needed to update the README from other repository to refer to the GitHub repo README for the Notary project overview. So that's everyone will understand. Shui just has a comment that Docker Notary has trust collections, and those trust metadata are signatures. So Shui, does that mean they are signatures from Docker Notary?
Yes. So basically, for the previous version of Notary, it has signatures. So basically, it has trust collections, and in the trust collection, there are a lot of trust metadata, and they are signed and become signatures. Although they are end with JSON, but they are signatures actually. So if we use 10 notary signatures, to me, it's ambiguous. It can refer to the current version or the previous version.
Just a question about that. So having in mind that Notary project has both the current version and the previous version, right? Notary project signature also can refer to both. Should we just rename it to a notation signature, or?
I think
Or other qualifier that this is
let me open our spec. Because current our spec, let me open it. I have a slow network. Because in current spec, you see from media type, this is what we referenced for the notary signature. So if we want to change it to notary project or notation, so this will impact our manifest we used to store our signature. It will cause other confusions.
I think it's fine to have that in a code or spec like that, but for documentation, we probably should move to notation, especially on something like that. I mean, this would be a breaking change. Any signature which is pushed right now will break with this, so we cannot actually change this.
No, I don't mean that we need to change this. I mean that from a documentation point of view, because we have this notary signature, right, from manifest and also some other place. I remember for our adopters, they are also referred to the notary signature. So if we want to change the spec, so we need to be careful and align the term.
Yeah, I don't think so we're changing, we're going to change the spec. I think that's not what we are saying. The spec can remain as is, and hence this media type can remain as is. We are only clarifying that will a better name or a better reference will clarify the confusion between previous version of Notary and the Notary project. So Shive, we heard you that to you, Notary signature is still confusing. So you want something more precise, to which Tori suggested, how about we call it Notary project signature? Will that make it clear that we are referring to the newer signature format?
I'm not sure
Just
that
okay.
makes it. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's okay, Jay. Go ahead. I'll wait.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I don't think that either one makes it clear to what signature format we are referring. The reason being is that Notary previously did not specify signature, so they signed the metadata and the image, but there is no specification for that. So this is the first specification for a signature format that we are producing. So having in mind that we cannot use Notary v2 signature, it's really hard to find a term that actually will clearly point to the specification that is used only by notation, unless we actually want to rename it to notation signature.
By the way, for the specification, I'm actually not sure if Notary, I mean the previous Notary has any specification on it or not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There is no specification. The other thing that I actually found out while digging in that is like the previous Notary never went to V1. which means that it is still in kind of inception phase, and it was clear that actually there were a lot of limitations with it because it never get to a stable version. So kind of trying to figure out how the terminology will work, it's becoming harder and harder with those kind of constraints that we have, right?
Oh, I just noticed that the current version is actually V1 and the previous one is actually 0 point something, right?
Well, if you go and look at the releases in the Notary repository, 0.61, I remember, was the last release that is made out of there. And that was end of last year. I think Justin Cormack fixed something and released. So if you click on Notary and go to releases, so 0.61. Actually more than, it's not last year, it's 2 years ago, 0.7. And this is a draft release.
Yes, 2 years ago.
So Notary as a implementation never got to version 1.
Okay. I think Samuel, please review Today's PR under the GitHub repo and share your comments, suggestions from Slack. Is that okay? And for the PRs in the Notary project repo, it will be adapted to according to Today's PR once the comments were solved. So those 3 PRs will be updated accordingly once we have some alignment. Okay, then we move next. This one is about signature specification. Okay, then we come to the section of security documents. So in total, we have 4, and we managed to merge 1. So let me click each of these documents because some PRs. So this one, yeah. So this one is looked to me as a first version. So Pritesh or Shui, could you comment for this description? So it's a request some expertise. So I expect you two can help to review this sentence. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Could you also paste a link to this one in the meeting notes?
Sure.
Many
Yeah,
thanks.
this one. Yeah. I will also paste it in the chat first. This one. Next one, Samuel, you request some changes, I think several days ago, and I think Zach already addressed your comments. Yeah, it's from Fridays ago. So the comments were already addressed. Okay, I saw Pritesh look good to me. So maybe Samuel, you can take a look since you request the changes. Okay, Samuel, I pasted this PR here. Samuel, I cannot hear you. I'm not sure whether you are saying something.
Yeah, sorry, I'm commuting right now, so I had put you on mute, but I will look at the PR.
Yeah, because it was requested changes, so you need to do some actions, otherwise it will block the merging.
Okay.
Another one, Yeah, I saw Toddy, you request changes. Yeah, I think Zach left some comments. Shui looks good. Yeah, Pritesh just left some comments. So maybe Toddy, you also need to do something to review it and remove this request changes if the comments solve your problem.
Yeah, I'll review that later tonight.
Thanks. Yeah, Baron approved it, but Baron currently is not a maintainer, so we need a maintainer to review and approve it. Okay, so those are for the security documents, and it is important because we have the security audit report from Adam. He also expected that these documents can be merged so that he can continue to publish the security report later. Okay, the next one is the thread model. Yeah, we have actually this PR stayed here for quite a long time. It's was created since February, and we have maintenance approves. From I think from Shiwei, but later I have new commits. So recently, Pritesh, you added more comments, so I resolved most of the comments. But for the additional threads you mentioned, I think I need some clarification. I'm not sure whether you take a look at the PR for the resolved comments.
I haven't. I will take a look. I will take a look today.
Yeah, thanks. And for the additional threads, we need some collaboration. So maybe offline we can discuss how to address this. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, this is the README file that Samuel created for the Notary project repository. So once Toddy's PR was merged, I will update this one accordingly. So basically, the idea is that for each repository README file, it will refer to the GitHub repo README as the Notary project overview, and just add information for specifically what this repo will provide to the what this specific repo will provide it. Okay, this template issue is a simple one, so we will not go through it. And this code of conduct, this PR, I see Emily already. Yeah, this one. Let me check the status. Okay, Pradesh approve it, and Emily also from talk approve it. So I think we are good with this PR. Just we need another maintainer to review it. We need 2 maintainers. Reflect and okay, this one. Okay, this one was created by Feynman, and there were already some comments. So maybe Feynman, you can take a look at the comments and resolve them.
Yeah, I will address those comments today.
Okay. Actually, this PR is to update the current one about release notation, including notation libraries, and also some updates on the website, for example, the banner, and also the quick start version, and also how to vote for the releases. Let's move on. Okay, this one blog post. I remember, Feeman, you sent out a Hack Markdown link, right?
Yeah, we had a draft for the outline of the blog post of release V1. Actually, I see Samir had multiple comments left on that hack markdown. I think we still need to address those comments from Samir and create the first draft for that blog post.
Okay. Do you see anything missing or anything blocking this blog post? Just resolve the comments from Samuel. Do you think anything we want to address in this meeting?
I don't have anything that need to be discussed in this meeting, but it requires additional offline discussion as it relates to some detailed problems.
Okay. Okay, maybe, yeah, I do say this item need more collaboration offline to prepare this blog post. So maybe Samuel, Pradesh, Simon, I think myself, we need to work closely on it. Okay. Okay, this one is Windows installer. This one is Mac OS installer. It's actually not in the V1 milestone, but I didn't find a better milestone because these two issues need to be done right after V1 release. And only in the V1, the stable release, we can, the V1 release, we can raise PR. For example, for the homebrew, it is not doable for the release candidate. So Samuel, I saw your comments. Do you have any suggestion on any milestone? Because if I change it to, for example, 1.1, it could be too late. So I didn't change anything about milestone. So I just keep those two here to remind us that we have two issues needed to be addressed right after the V1 release. Samuel, do you have any suggestion? Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking we can can we park them in the next milestone, V1.0, V1.1.0?
V1, okay, you mean the patch, but it is not the patch version. It's actually a feature, but has to be complete once we have the V1 release due to the restriction that the release candidate cannot file a PR. So I don't think 1.0.1 fits it.
Okay, then we can leave it as is.
Yeah. Okay, but it's yeah. Let's leave these two here. Next one is the release management. I think that there was a comment from last community meeting on Thursday, right? It's about because we are soon release this V1 release, we need to consider the supported releases, right? So maybe Samuel or Todi, you can comment from previous Notary meeting. So actually, I did a look at this release management. I see this supported releases still matters, just the first sentence is not appropriate. So anything specific that we needed to update this document?
Sorry, the release management and the release checklist was mainly asked for changes by Pritesh. So Pritesh, you had some comments that some things were not actually added in the checklist that people often forget. So,
yeah, we forget to update Go mod files. I have added comment in release checklist.
Okay, that is for release checklist. How about this release management? Yeah, because for example, we
Oh.
release V1, how do we support the previous versions?
Oh yeah, I think we don't need to support RCs. We can just call it out. I'm not sure whether it's implicit that RCs are not supported. I mean, for example, yeah.
Seems not. Yeah, maybe Pritesh, you can take a look at this risk management document and create a PR to update. If you think it's feasible, then we can review it.
Sure, I can try, give it a stab. Yeah, I can try that.
Yeah, I did a look. It seems just this sentence. And you also mentioned that the release candidates will not support. Maybe you can create a PR to update this release management so we can review
Sure.
it together.
Yeah, I can do that. Can you please share the link? I can take a note of this.
Okay, please take a look.
Thank you.
And if you are going to do it, then later I will, you can assign it to yourself, or I can do that. The next one is release 1.0 version of Notary project specification. I think in order to release this Notary project specification, we need to fix all the naming issue, right? So we need to fix the three. I mean, basically the three PRs needed to be merged. Then we can vote for release for this Notary project specification. This issue was created by Samuel. So Samuel, do you see any other thing we needed to do?
No, I don't think so. Any other things besides merging that signature spec? That was, I think, we have a separate issue for that.
Okay. So once we fix the naming issue covering all the specs, including signature spec and also the README, then we can start to vote for release for it, right?
Agreed.
Okay. Next one is security audit reports. So actually, I did a summary for that in the security channel. So what is left is that it requires notary maintainers to update your information on the security report. So please, Samuel, Pritesh, Shivi, or Toddy can take a look if the information is good for yourself. I mean the personal information, including email address and your role. And also another thing we mentioned is that we have this security documents not merged yet. So the thing left is we complete the security documents and we update our maintenance information. Then I think Adam is ready to go for the security report. Okay, that's the information I shared. So from Samuel, Pritesh, other maintenance, do you see any other actions we need to take for the audit reports? I also did a list, a summary list in the channel. Please take a look. Okay. So anything else we need to take care? Or anything you see still not in this board for V1 release? Anything from anyone? If no, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I see a CNCF annual review report that we are preparing for Notary, but it is not tied to notation V1 release. I think the point is that we can raise a PR to CNCF TOC alongside with notation V1 release, but it will not block the V1 release. But I think it is important for V1 as it will bring visibility to the Notary project, and CNCF will be curious about the activity of the community. So I think we have two issues. The first one is in CNCF TOC, and we mirror that issue into .github repo. Maybe we can add that item to this list.
We have all the government's issue tracking here. Let me scroll down. By the way, I switched to another tab named the governance issues. Yeah, we have some work around the this annual review. Yeah, I want to hear comments from other maintainers. Should we keep this annual review item, not change the milestone, or we need to do it? I mean, file the PR before V1 release. I don't think this will block us. So any comments from other maintainers or people? Anyone? So if no comments, I would suggest that in parallel, we're preparing this annual review. And we can send out as Freeman you suggested around the time that we publish in this V1 release.
Yeah, sure.
I do think that maybe Samuel Pradesh, you can also take a look at the hack markdown that Freeman prepared for the annual review. Is that okay, Samuel Pradesh?
Yeah, can you please share the markdown link? Sorry.
I will reshare it. I remember it's in the Slack channel, but I can share it in this chat box. Thanks.
Yeah,
That would be great. Thank you.
yeah, please do it. And please take a look at the annual review to see anything risks that our V1 release. Yeah, it's better that we are good with the content of the annual review before V1 release. Okay, let me switch back to our agenda. So if nothing else, we complete this review status on V1 release. Yeah, about the release timeline, do we have a proposal? I see from previous meeting, it's June 14th, right? Do we feel comfortable that we can commit on this day? I mean, on June 14th, we can start voting for the release for each repository.
I mean, June 14th looks aggressive to me, at least. I mean, it's just like the day after tomorrow. And we have a bunch of PRs open. I mean, we can target June 14th, but it looks like an optimistic date to me.
How about other folks? 14 is just 1 day left, right? We have still have a bunch of PRs.
If it's not feasible, then should we actually resubmit?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
maybe
understand
we-
the motivation
Yeah.
for probably being date driven, but I think we have to be honest as to all these things might not be achievable in 2 days. So
Yeah, do we have a proposed date for it based on current PR review status. I see some the smaller one we can maybe address early tomorrow PDT time. But for some notation naming and the security documents, maybe we still need maybe 1 or 2 rounds review.
So how many of these are blocking release?
I think all these are mandatory for the V1
Okay.
on the board. Yeah.
So then we need to burn down in the next 2 weeks, I guess.
Do you want to mention that we have a Dragon Boat Festival next week?
Yeah, it's Friday, right? In China.
It's not Friday, it's on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Thursday.
We will work on Sunday.
So Pritesh asked, is 21st acceptable?
Yeah, either 21st or 26th. These are 2 dates which I had in my mind.
21st, if we start voting, it will be 22 for China. So it's a bit late. So how about
let's do-
19th, next Monday?
No, I think the problem was 7 days is not enough to cover all the PRs, right? So 21st or 26th is what Pradesh was suggesting, is what I heard. Pradesh, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I mean, we can, yeah, I mean, 19th looks optimistic to me. There like 4 or 5 days. And I think if there are any comments or any review, any subsequent comments or any of the PR, it might take more than a week to resolve and vote for that. I mean, if you're targeting 19th to vote, then that becomes like we should have everything tested by 15th or 16th at least.
21 PDT time it because we will have a vacation. Sorry, public holidays. So
How about 26th?
it's
I mean, we can always do early if we are ready.
I have additional comment related to the release date. Actually, looking at the Notary Planning Board, I see we have around less than 10 PRs which are pending for review. And I think if we can figure out how many of those are mandatory for Notary V1 release, I think for user-facing content, I mean, those PRs are created for user guide or user documentation. I think they are mandatory for V1, and for those governance process such as release process, I'm thinking we may not need to tie it into V1 release. We can do it immediately after V1, and also regarding those issues like installation package, for example, Homebrew and Winget installation. It is already after V1, but it is still on the list. So it looks like we have a lot of items to do, but maybe we can figure out how many items are really mandatory for V1 and how many items that we can discuss and finish them immediately after V1. In this way, we may not need to delay the V1 release for too long. At least for security-related documents, I think they are mandatory for V1, and for those release process, README update, why not put it after V1? But we can do it immediately after the V1 release. I think those are not the real blocking issues for releasing V1 from the user's point of view. There's no code-based change, and the bug fixes remaining in V1. So this is just a different angle from end user's point of view.
Thanks, Fabian. We have 7 minutes left. So how about we make a decision this Thursday? Because I do see some PRs are small. So let's go let's check on this Thursday on the status, then we can decide the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to call out some of these documentation PRs are feedback from security audit. Like, I'm not sure which ones, but some of them are because of security audit feedback. So I would like to get them incorporated before we make the audit public.
Yeah, could you check which one?
Yeah, I can give it a start. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, could you check which one, and maybe you can also comment what is missing.
Yep.
Okay. Please share it with us. So we have 6 minutes, so I want to give this time to Josh for a quick update on this GitHub Actions. Sorry, Josh.
No worries.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so I was doing some more research into it, and I got somewhat of a prototype. But so after digging into a little bit, my suggestion would be to go forward with the setup action. It can be written in JavaScript or Bash, and then accommodate all the platforms. It's also what Cosign does, which Pritesh sent me a link. Let me see if I can find that quick. Cosign also does the same thing, where they just have a setup action, and then they use the Bash commands just to interact with the CLI itself. But yeah, putting it all in the one's going to be a lot of work and pretty complicated to get it to work. And then I imagine the CLI is going to change quite rapidly as well. And so with that, just all those factors, kind of my suggestion would be the setup action. And then if later on the line we wanted to do sign action and verify action, we could, or if we wanted to bundle it later on, we could. But as far as getting the UX experience out there, the setup and the install and configuration of the CLI and the plugin is the biggest hurdle. And so what we have would work for a lot of people in that case. So yeah, that's just after my research. It would be, I think it'd probably take me a couple of weeks if I wanted to get a fully working single action combined, probably 3 to 4 weeks, just because it's pretty complicated. And then you're kind of shimmed with the Docker file, or you'd have to rewrite it all in JavaScript. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents, but more than willing to open discussion on it.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I think we can continue on this issue to work for the actions setup notation. Previously, we think we needed to do setup notation first. So I think this issue still stands, and we also received several look good to me. I think the next step is we define the repo name, and we conclude this issue, and we can start to create the repo. And after that, Josh can contribute the setup notation code into the new repo.
Sounds good. Do you want me to throw in 2 variants of the name and then vote on it too, or is there any next steps that I can do?
Yeah, I think we do have this name. So maybe this is from Feynman. Maybe Feynman, you can make a summary that we will start with setup notation, and currently how many maintainers support this idea. We can calculate and to see whether we reach majority of approvals. So if the status is good, then we can go forward to create this subrepo.
Yeah, I'm standing for the point of focus on setup notation first, and then consider notation sign and maybe verify in the future. We did the similar GitHub actions for Aura CLI previously. So in notation side, I think notation is a little bit complicated than Aura's. So given the timeline of notation V1 release, let's focus on the notation setup. I mean, installation action first, and create a maybe notation setup or name. We can discuss it offline, but I agree with Josh that we can focus on the setup notation first and determine which name we will want to use. I will comment on this issue if there's no other additional ideas on the actions. I also shared the links that related to Aura's GitHub actions. Yeah, as a workaround, I think users can still use bash script in GitHub actions YAML file until we have a GitHub action set up for notation. It's just my 2 cents. I will.
It does seem to follow a lot of the pattern of the CNCF tools, as well as just a lot of the open source tools in the space. They typically have the setup and then whatever the name of the plugin, and then it's kind of at your will with the bash script. I think Trivia was like the only exception in my research to that, where they had the one. So I think it's a very common practice, and it would make sense to a lot of people if we go that route.
Yeah, Josh, did you check the Aura's setup actions that created by Shui and other Aura's maintainers before? I shared that link.
Okay, I'll check it out. Looks like it's JavaScript too. So
yes, JavaScript version.
Yeah. So Firmin, could you make a summary here and check the status from how many maintainers approve this? Then we can decide later if we can move on to create this repo. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
We have two other items. One is to nominate Doc as a maintainer for the web site repository. Maybe Firmin, you can post this in the Slack channel. We are already we already reached the time for today's meeting. Yeah, maybe you can share it in the Slack channel. Okay. So yeah. So we reach end of the meeting. Let's focus on the V1 release PR review. Okay, thanks everyone.
Real quick before.
Yeah, have a nice day.
Sure.
Hello.
Sorry.
Real quick,
Josh.
there was a PR that I also wanted reviews for. I didn't add it to the agenda, but let me just send it in the chat real quick.
Okay, it's its own notation repo. Okay, so yeah, I think the maintainers need to take a look at that PR. It's is it targeting for V1 or it's
no, I don't think it needs to be targeted for V1 specifically, but I think it's just been sitting around for a while. So
okay, thanks for reminding.
Yeah, Byron, it seems that PR has conflicts and is out of date.
I can rebase and update it so that it's up to date then.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks thanks everyone. Have a nice day.
You too. See you.
Thanks,
You too. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.